Welcome back to Daily Flash. Dealing with parents who lie to you, what do you do? The question stems from the trending Kirk Franklin story about finding his father.
Now, in it, his mother lies to him repeatedly, and it wasn't until he actually was presented DNA evidence that she came clean all about his dad.
Yeah, and here to talk about how kids should handle a parent lying to them is relationship trauma expert Dr. Janie. Lacy, Janie, good to see you.
Glad to be here.
All right, this is a big deal. I mean, we were talking about this last week. A lot of people wrote in about it. First, there's several different elements of this. There's parental rights, children's rights as well. What would you say if you had Kirk Franklin right here to help him actually handle this situation, knowing that he never knew his father was just living just minutes away from him because his mother held that information back from him his whole life?
You know, the first thing I would say to Kurt is that you're brave. It takes boldness and it takes someone brave to go after their own story to make sense of who they are, why they do the things that they do, why do they think the things that they struggle with, and to go and not only go after it, but to share it with the world, because so many people, this is their story, but he has the platform to share his story, and everyone else that's relating to that, he's opened a lot of conversations up as a result of that documentary.
There has to be a serious trust issue at play here when we talk about long-term effects of a parent lying to a child.
When you think about a child, our parents are our first introduction to relationships and life. So when you find out that your parent has been lying to you or potentially lying to you, it rocks your world. You're going to be questioning things. You're probably not going to even trust yourself, especially depending on your age and your stage of your life. So it damages because it's part of what we call a template in psychology. Our parents are downloading information about who we are in our template. So our very first relationships are mom and our dad, and especially if they're our caregivers. And if they're lying to us and then we are relying on them for information about the world, about who we are, it takes a lot of undoing to get to a place of healing, first understanding what has happened.
And it's usually when you're an adult and then you usually become a parent, you kind of understand, you're on that next phase. I would imagine that happens a lot. We do these lies all the time. Some people call them white lies. Somebody knocks at the door, tell them I'm not here, you know, or those sort of things. Are they detrimental, or are they also part of that step to where eventually you might be holding back something bigger?
Are they the gateway drug?
A gateway lie. Yes, a gateway lie.
What we look at is a death by 1,000 cuts, right? So I have a son. So if my son saw me telling a lot of little white lies, it's also giving him permission to do the same. But how he interprets that would be different than me thinking, oh, just, you know, tell him I'm not here, I'll get to it later, and I'm just thinking it's nothing. But from his state, he's taking all of that information in to understand how he's going to operate into the world. And it is a lot challenging when we're now an adult and we grew up telling a lot of white lies, and now we're trying to be in relationships or jobs, or we're tweaking that one thing on the resume, right? We're going to get into a lot of challenges in adulthood if we don't understand.
I guess my question is, even presented with the DNA evidence, the mom still wasn't really forthcoming about who the dad was and why she did not introduce the two. So why do you think she was withholding that information?
This is actually very common when someone is unhealed and they have a lot of shame that they are stored. They would rather hold on to a lie and die with that lie because it's so much more painful to tell the truth and to come out with what really the reality is. So it's actually very common when people get stunted and they stay stuck in whatever narrative they have been operating from. But there's a lot of shame that happens.
Because that's working for them. So again, they're
working
comfortable
for
with
them, and to say that I've made a mistake or say that I've lied, well, I'm saying there's something wrong with me when we're looking at shame versus guilt in particular.
That's interesting.
You think it'd be freeing though? Like she'd want to get that off of her chest. She'd want that off her shoulders.
If she was healthy, if she did her healing work and she was healthy.
All righty. LifeCounselingSolutions.com. Janie, Lacy, thank you so much for joining us. You always bring such great commentary as well as great advice as well. If you want to find out more information, just check out Janie's site at LifeCounselingSolutions.com.